Okay, thank you very much, Jerry, and thanks to all our panel speakers. So you've heard what the debate's about. I'm going to throw it open to the floor now and take questions and comments and contributions. So who would like to kick off? Yeah, down there, halfway down the aisle.
Thank you. So far, none of the panelists have said anything that I haven't heard before or anything that moves me in any direction. Can I please ask one of the panelists to say something that shocks me?
Yeah. Okay, well, they will have their chance to reply, and they're going to deal with all the comments from the floor when one speaker winds up for each side. So hopefully one of them will deal with that then. Yeah, the gentleman there in the light blue.
Microphone's coming to you.
First of all, about the damage of the cars. I live in Amsterdam, and it's still one of the safest cities because we walk and we bicycle, and we can't have cars. I don't have a car because I can't pay a parking space. So cars do have a damaging effect. Technology has a damaging effect. But to the question, I really support, and I was a bit disappointed that you didn't go even further of supporting the statement. What I see happening in Africa, that we bring computers to say we will now change to student-centered learning of a tradition of hundreds of years. So we bring in the one laptop a child, and we think we change in 2 years the whole education system. It is about end-to-end. This 100% sort of change that we from the pedagogical side will change the people. In Holland, the students are screaming for having lectures, for having teachers. Yeah? Mm-hmm. My own daughter is screaming to me that she wants to know how to work with her values. She's completely lost. The internet doesn't teach you values. So don't throw away our role of educators, of being parents. You know? I don't believe that somebody of 14 needs to be fully responsible for his own homework. But that is what I hear from my peers around me. Don't tell your children what they have to do, they have to figure it out themselves. Yeah? I see a lot of loneliness around me. That's what I'm worried about. And the internet can help with it if we do it together. It's part of us, and we should also use it together. So yes, it is an issue of how to use it. And I think it is a serious thing. So it's not about quotes, it is about us. And I'm really worried in this conference also, and I wanted to share that. So I support you fully in your concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, there was a gentleman just in front there, I think in the second row.
Thank you. There's a question for Aric. I mean, if I was listening to your rant there, I think, children might as well be locked up now because they're going to be psychopaths in any sort of second. It was quite shocking, and it doesn't quite, resonate with the sort of things that we see. And, when I look at, and also when talked about Bruce, I think sometimes we arrogantly believe that, we're brighter than our children, and it's, the facts are totally the opposite. This generation will be much brighter than we are, and, all of the evidence shows that. The exams are getting better and better every year, and we can say arrogantly that they're not, etc., and that university standards are not quite that, but it's just not true. These kids are getting better. So the question of Aric is really that, is there anything good in this, or should we lock kids up now? It all just sounds Armageddon.
Do you want to?
Well,
yeah,
yes, I'd be very happy to answer that. Here's a microphone. It's interesting to hear you confidently say our children are so much brighter than we are. Well, quite frankly, mate, they're not. That's why I'm an adult and a child is called a child. Secondly, you have an English accent, am I correct? Why didn't you mention that we have the worst literacy in decades? This is completely agreed by the left and the right wing. We have a terrible, terrible state of low levels of literacy, low mathematics skills, and many other educational problems, which interestingly you didn't mention to the audience right now. Why didn't you? No, I'm not talking about the grades on technical tests. I'm talking about the ability to write and read. You're talking about test scores. And by the way, scientists that I put up on the board looked very carefully again at your claims and found that, in fact, they're not becoming brighter. The scores are going higher, but their level of deep thinking on those tests has dropped dramatically. And that's from the same data that you looked at, except it's a new analysis, wondering why can't our kids speak as well, write as well, and read as well as they did a couple of decades ago. So I'm afraid you're not right, and children actually are not brighter than us.
Right. Any other questions or comments? Yeah, back there, the lady there. In the middle, near the camera.
Hello. I think that the discussion is not very, I mean, Aric spoke about the children. The last contributor spoke about adults, I feel. He didn't, nobody replied actually to what technology is doing to children's brain. Nobody. We cannot judge by our children. So I think that online educa, for example, I attended the European Learning Industry Group, and the people there asked what could contribute, what we could ask from them. I would say that we could agree on some guidelines for the usage of technology by children. We could agree to some standards, banning technology in schools, for example, until some age group. What do you think of this?
You wanted to respond to that, Donald.
So yeah, on the children thing, you know, we just have to get a bit empirical here about how kids use the technology. Sometimes, you know, what do they do in their bedroom? Well, let me tell you, let me compare child with child to take up the point there. When I was 16, the most writing and communication I had in a small Scottish town was a couple of pen pal letters to my friend in France. My kids are going through a renaissance in writing and reading. They write screeds every day of their life, mostly through keyboards. Their communication skills are absolutely superb. They're writing to a factor of a cube compared to me. This is what kids are doing. Do you think they're all sitting on the screens just staring there blankly at it? Or are they communicating with their friends about what the party's going to be on Friday and about real-time events and getting out and doing things? Have a look at what the real researchers are doing in terms of what real children do when they're online. They speak to other kids, and they write a hell of a lot. This is what the online world is for those kids. Let's get real. They're not just sitting there blankly like sponges.
Nobody.
Okay, anybody else? Yeah, down there.
I'm curious, you've talked about social networking and technology as the single variable that is affecting test scores and a number of other things. And we briefly blew off kind of better food and things like that. What are some other variables that, I mean, how have you isolated this one thing to make the connection that it's social networking and technology that's driving our kids, you know, to be idiots?
You want me to answer that?
Well, yeah, I think we'll take one answer from each side. Yeah, you.
Yes? Yeah. Okay. First of all, I have not zeroed in on social technology. I think the conference wanted me to simply bash Facebook. But in fact, when I talk about technology, I really talk about the amount of time our children are spending on technology as opposed to doing other things. And I do think that has had an effect. I think that there is a very big difference when Donald was just saying that kids don't absorb things like a sponge. They don't sit there stupidly. They write. What they are not doing is interacting with people with undivided attention, one-on-one. A lot of the time, they're chatting to a variety of people, and then when they're bored, they change screen and they change screen. That is what is affecting certain areas of our children's intellectual development. So it isn't just social networking. And let me make it clear, although Donald wrongly positioned my paper as bashing social networking, my academic paper was on social networking as we know it. Social networking is a term used for face-to-face contact, which has been hijacked by the technology fields. And what my paper was about was the importance and the fears that if you don't have social contact, there are biological changes and health consequences, not about social technology of the type we're talking about here. So it was intentionally positioned to make me look like a fool. This isn't the case. My paper was about face-to-face contact produces physiological benefits to the immune system and everything else, and people live longer. A lack of social contact, a lack of face-to-face contact causes negative consequences.